A very good Sunday morning to you. I hope I find you very, very well on what is a dull, dreary, grey Manchester day today. But, you know, still Manchester, still January, so nothing you can do. Sorry I wasn't around yesterday, but put a little bit of time aside for myself. As you know, yesterday I went to meet one of my subscribers. Now, I have to say, first off, as a content maker, I find it quite nice to have the availability to be able to meet people who actually watch this rubbish that I actually put out there on a daily basis or so. And what a nice day it was. I arranged with XJ Steve, who you will see quite regularly in the old comments section, to meet in the Peak District, which is, there's a certain area of the Peak District, which is it's kind of Glossop, Derbyshire, the general countrified area of kind of central northern England, as it were. You've got sort of Manchester and environs on the kind of west side, and then you've got this lovely area of ranging hills, grasslands, grazing lands for sheep and cattle, hills and valleys and streams, and then the other side of we then end up, of course, the wrong side of the Pennines and go to Yorkshire, and you've got Nottinghamshire and so on and so forth. If people across the pond maybe don't know the geography of Britain. So I had a lovely, lovely drive out to this delightful area. Not been there for a long time, so it was great to see. And then I met XJ Steve and his delightful wife, and we met in a lovely little cafe called the Three Roofs Cafe in Castleton, which is right in the cavern area of Castleton, where all the visitors go to have a look at these magnificent underground caverns that you can either walk down into, or in certain cases you go by boat through basically a very, very low tunnel until it expands out into this massive cathedral of a cavern. And if you ever get the chance to come to Britain, and you ever get the chance to come to the northern half of Britain, of course, yes, there is a northern half of Britain. Most tourists, of course, hit London. And come and see these caverns. They are spectacular to see. But we had a great time. I'm not too sure that Steve's good lady had so much of a great time as Steve and I did, but we talked watches for about an hour and a half or so in this lovely little cafe, and talked about everything to do with watches, about obviously the kind of watches we like. As promised, I took a number of my pieces for him to see, and he got to look and hold the Hulk and my GMT. And it was a delight to talk to somebody who was a kind of a kindred spirit, who's going down the road of owning the watches that, one, he can afford, and two, that he likes, and looking into the future. His main aim is to buy himself a prestige brand such as Rolex. Now, the point of the video today is to say thank you to Steve for arranging to meet me. It is a very nice opportunity to do that. It's something that I didn't think it would ever occur, because when you've got a lot of subscribers all around the world, not saying I've got a lot, but you know, I'm never likely to meet Andy in America, or I mean, I'll probably meet Simon at some point, Gold-Plated Pete and Bob from Brisbane. I'm never likely to come across them, so it's very, very nice to have the opportunity to get somebody who's relatively close by to sit and have a cup of tea and something to eat, and have a chat regarding not only watches but about the YouTube content as well. Kind of where I'm at after kind of the meeting yesterday was that not only this community, but community in general, can actually learn a lot about what transpires here in this little microcosm of watch nutcases, which is trust. We've seen over the last year or so, initially we had the Casio that went round the world for different people to try. I know that Simon had Andy Hunter's Steinhart. I know CG has now got that. And these watches travel all over the world, and they travel to fellow watch idiots, people we've come to know and like and laugh with and trust via YouTube. And I think it's very important that there is that bond of trust within these channels. Now, the reason I'm coming to that is that Steve contacted me via email about, I would think, 10 days or so ago, perhaps a little bit sooner than that. And he asked would I be interested in doing a review of some of his watches. Now, kind of where I am with that is, although you guys see me more or less every day, you only know me here, on this little box. So you don't know me any more than that, and you don't know who I am. Hopefully I'll give you a fair idea of that I'm a fairly genuine guy, but that having been said, nobody knows me from Adam. I could be anybody. But Steve contacted me and he said, would you like to meet up and possibly do a review on some of my watches? So I thought that was really nice. So we met yesterday after firing a few emails and telephone calls and texts and things like that between us. And Steve brought along a box. Now, Steve brought this along. We see that with that bloody light reflecting in the window there? Steinhart. Now, my first reaction was, what a nice box. I didn't think that Steinhart did this kind of boxes. I was really impressed. And it's a good old weighty box, you know, and I think, well, that in itself highlights the kind of quality that Steinhart as a company are, and try to put out there in the marketplace. Now, I've never held a Steinhart. I've seen all the reviews. Of course I have. We all have seen the reviews, but there's only a kind of a select few of us, those who own them, and those of like, you know, where Andy's has gone around the world, that has actually seen these things up close and personal. Now, let's open this up. So Steve was kind enough to send me those. Let's put that one on an angle for you so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. There now. Now, I am going to put pictures of each of these at the end of the video so you'll be able to see them a little bit better. But what I'm going to do, and this video is not really about watches. What it's about is the trust that Steve is showing in me. I'm going to wear these. I am going to see how I feel about them. I'm going to try to put to one side my feelings of admiration for Steinhart. I actually like as a brand, and the only reason I've not bought one is that when the OVM was such a massive success with everybody, I decided, I got on the bus late, and I decided I was going to buy one. And what did they do? Obviously, they went out of stock. It never came back in stock as the version 1. The version 2 came out, and I didn't quite like the version 2 as much, hence, I don't own one. So, this actually is my first opportunity to physically get one in my sweaty mitt. So I am going to wear these for a couple of weeks. I will change them once every 3 days or so I get a good feeling of how they feel on my wrist, what the fit and finish is like, whether they remind me of anything else, whether they have echoes of the Rolex or echoes of the Omega, that kind of thing. Am I being presumptuous there? Who knows? And we'll see how they feel on my wrist, actually being up close and personal to a watch brand that I've only seen here and nowhere else. So, to finish this off, the trust that somebody who I had never met until yesterday, I'm blown away. I'm actually blown away by that and very, very complimented by that. But I'm not surprised by that because there are a select number of channels, some far bigger than me, of course, who, I'm very small fry in this little group, that are well respected, well trusted, and can lend and borrow watches to each other. I hope that this with Steve, with his beautiful Steinharts, is the start of me becoming trusted to do the same thing. So we have, I'm not too sure whether I'm going to do 4 separate videos on reviews, or whether I'll do one for each watch, or whether I'll do maybe 2 lots of 2 watches for 2 videos. But look out for them coming in the future. My first impressions are lovely, absolutely lovely. You can't escape the obvious nods to other famous dive watches for certain of the models, but I will let you know what my feelings are, well, over the next couple of weeks. So that's it for this one. It is a thank you to Steve for meeting me and having a lovely afternoon, actually, a very pleasant afternoon, getting back out into the countryside and trusting me with his pride and joys. And it doesn't matter what people spend on watches, they are all our pride and joys. It doesn't matter if you spend 60 quid in the case of my Marina Militaire, or whether you spend 6 grand on the Hulk, for instance. They all mean something and they're all special to us. So I think what I want to say is it's all very indicative, I hope, of the trust that is within these channels, and just to hope that trust continues, and a lot of the battles and arguments that seem to be around, certainly of late, tend to fade into the background, and the trust overtakes that and becomes the overriding thing. So, thank you very much for watching. I will tag singular pictures at the end of the video. Have a good close look at them, and I will do reviews on them toot sweet. Anyway, if you're liking this, give it a thumbs up. If you're the first time here, there's lots of other bits and pieces in the back catalogue. Have a look there. They're all about watches. And if you're quite interested in a lot of stuff other than watches, I'm sure you'll find stuff in there that will interest you. If you're liking what you see, subscribe, and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye-bye.